Hello, this is Dan Richardson at the Chapel of the North Hills, and we are starting off today our 40-day reading challenge. 40 days of reading the Bible every day in a row. And this time we're trying to take a smaller chunk and actually memorize it. So 40 Bible verses that you need to know by heart. And the first one is the first book and the first line of the Bible, Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created heaven and the earth. Well, thinking about first lines are extremely important. All the authors know this, and they spend a good bit of time trying to craft a great first line. Let's think about some. Here's Frank Herbert's Dune. In the week before their departure to Arrakis, when the final scurrying about had reached a nearly unbearable frenzy, an old crone came to visit the mother of the boy, Paul. We're setting a stage. We're piquing some interest. Who is this old crone? When did this all happen? And who is Paul? What's going to go on there? So we've got a lot of story ahead of us in the Dune series. Here's a great one. This is George Orwell's opening sentence for 1984. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. 13. We don't have 13 on the clock. Well, our interest is piqued right away because they have 13 on the clock. Clocks don't strike 13, so something's off, something's weird. The government is even trying to control time and clocks. Well, that's what George Orwell started his story with. Let's think of a little more lofty one here. Here's one from Shakespeare. This is The Twelfth Night by Shakespeare. If music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it, that, surfeiting, the appetite may stricken and so die. Really lofty, but we know it's going to be about love. And we're going to enjoy as he unfolds that story. All right, let's think of some other ones here. This is a really famous one. This is Tale of Two Cities. He opens up this book with the phrase, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, and it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, and we had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven, we were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on it being received, for good or for evil, in the superlative degree of comparison only. Back and forth, opposites, this and that. And don't want to give the story away, but it's about two opposites, yet very similar in some ways. So that's A Tale of Two Cities. Some of them are a lot more pointed. Look at A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Marley was dead to begin with. Ooh, that one cuts right to the heart of a story right away. It's about death. And who is this Marley person? How about The Great Gatsby? This is a great opening line. Piquing interest, talking about what's going to happen. Makes me want to read on. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Well, what was it? We got to read on. So, great opening sentences. Here is a very funny one as well. Pride and Prejudice. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. So, there's a lot of ways to think about that one and take that one, but a beautiful opening line in Pride and Prejudice. Maybe one of the most shocking pieces of literature with an opening line would have to be in Fahrenheit 451. How about this? It was a pleasure to burn. That is quite arresting. Well, a good opening line is going to set a stage, is going to pique an interest, is going to introduce a character, it's going to show what the story is about, and the same is true for the opening line, the opening sentence in the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. See, it tells us who the main character is, God. God is the protagonist of all of the Bible. And it's a book about God, and it's God's very words to us. It's the book that still speaks to us today because God still speaks to us. And it tells us what he did. At the very beginning, there was God. So we can't ask questions like, where did God come from? Or who was God's parents? They don't make sense because in the very beginning, God was already there. There was God. He always was. He always will be. He is. In the beginning, the Lord created. Well, when we accept that first statement of the Bible, then there's nothing that can rattle us. There's nothing that can cause us to disbelieve. If we think about any miracle that's recorded in Scripture, we think, well, of course that could happen. Well, God created the heaven and the earth. What is more incredible and fantastic than that? And so, every single event, supernatural event, foretelling the future, healing of any sort, it can all be explained because there is a God, and he can do anything. So as far as first lines go, the Bible has the best. Be blessed.